The final match is upon us. It's time for all or nothing for 2 players left in the round of 16. We have 7 players who have made it so far. It's time to find the 8th. To help me do that is In Control and Pig. We've had a long 2 days now, but we've finally gotten towards the end of the round of 16. Yes, Jaedong was just on stage. That's what that was about. We finally gotten near the end of the round of 16. One final game. It's been 2 long days, 2 very important days for these players. And now it's about to finish, sadly. Also, to remind you guys at home, we are going to draw the round of 8 straight after the last match here between these 2 players. Let's take a look at Group D, or at least the last couple of matches, the last match, sorry, here that we have remaining. Jaedong goes up against Petraeus. Petraeus, the youngster who for the first time is playing within the WCS and has an opportunity to go further than, of course, he's naturally ever been before. Jaedong, on the other side of things, In Control, has had a late start to the system in 2015, and he needs this win.
He does. He was put down by Stardust in a really exciting and awesome series, but ultimately a 2-0. And Stardust was thumbing him down. He was all smiles. He's been walking around having a relaxed day. That was supposed to be Jaedong. So he's got to have a bit of a chip on his shoulder. But Petraeus had his back up against the wall, was facing a fearsome opponent in Rhett. And yet here he is with a chance for revenge, representing this super tight-knit and ultra secretive community of New Zealanders, actually. That's something Pig doesn't even know about. They're an amazing group of people over there.
There's a lot of vampires, a lot of Zerg players as well down there in New Zealand. So he's pretty experienced at both fighting vampires and Zergs.
And those skills translate, man. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
I hope so. He needs that kind of ability to be able to take Jaedong down. We know what Jaedong's like, but you know, all serious here, we talk about the way that you can play somebody, lose, come back, play again, win. Tilo, the example from earlier today. Is this going to play into the factors here?
Looking at yesterday's series, you've got to think Petraeus has spent last night watching that VOD against Jaedong, thinking about those games, running it through in his head. And Jaedong played a really peculiar style against him. Played very different to the Jaedong we're used to seeing in the past. In the second game especially, we saw him identify Petraeus' defensive stance, and he just rushed to Hive, built like 8 Infestors, and just went straight to Hydralisks, and he wasn't really building any Roaches. He was very vulnerable. I think Petraeus is going to realize that he showed that side, Jaedong identified it, and I don't think he's going to let Jaedong exploit him in that same way.
All right, we'll talk a lot more about both the players and the matchup in a moment, because I've heard it's time to bring, for the last time, Canada, the last 2 remaining players in the round of 16 onto the stage.
That's right. Get excited, Toronto, Canada. Get excited, people at home, because we have one last match for one last spot in the round of 8 here in the Season 2 Finals. Our first player. This matchup always has been called ZvZ, but this young man, if he has anything to say about it, he wants to say there's an exception to everything. Having just come off of a 2-0 win against Rhett, representing My Insanity, it is Petraeus! And his opponent coming back for the rematch, saying, no, it's still called ZvZ. I don't think I need to say any more for this guy playing for the Evil Geniuses. It is Jaedong! One last spot in the round of 8. One last chance to say that you were in the top 8 players of Season 2 in the WCS Premier League. Players, please shake each other's hands, enter your booths, and get ready for a fight to death to get into the quarterfinals.
It is go hard or go home for both of these players. One final best of 3, one final opportunity to go to the quarterfinals. In Control, Pig, we have Jaedong going up against Petraeus. We'll talk about JD in a moment. Let's first of all talk about Petraeus. We've talked about it's his first season. He's a young player. He's worked so hard to get here today. Is he going any further, Pig?
It's all on him now. Can he keep it together? Can he keep focused? And can he step his game up? Just that little 10% notch that he needs to improve upon yesterday. He took Jaedong to some strong, solid, long games yesterday. But in the end, Jaedong proved he was just a little bit better in those stages. He needs to just step up that little bit. And I think with some adjustments, he's got what it takes to push Jaedong to the limits, and he's even got a chance to take it out.
For Petraeus, it's one game, one match, one chance to move forward to the round of 8. But for Jaedong, Jeff, it's much more than that. It's not about just getting to the top 8. It's about going further than that. It's about the semifinals. It's about a potential final. And it's about the road to the global finals here, because he has missed season 1. He's back now for his first season in the WCS. He has been playing well in this season, but he needs to win this if he really wants a chance to play at the tournament that matters to him most.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, with him, round of 8 is really not where it even ends for him. It's not like, okay, good, that's what I wanted, round of 8. Jaedong is a win or nothing kind of guy. And right now he's kind of looking at a nothing. Stardust was a big speed bump. He actually put him down 2-0. Petraeus looked impressive against Red. Really nice Zerg versus Zerg play. And he already played a ZvZ. I mean, there's something to be said for going to sleep after a loss, putting that in the past, waking up the next day, and tearing it up. And so far we've seen some pretty good examples of how that works on the next day.
Of course, here is Jaedong. 27 wins, 16 losses in the WCS.
Oh. He must have got that from Stardust.
The Tyrant is here, and he is meant to be here to stay. It's very weird to think of a top 8 in the WCS without Jaedong, and that is a possibility at this moment. Zerg versus Zerg, best of 3 here, Pig. Talk to us about the variance that can really happen in this matchup, compared to others especially.
Zerg versus Zerg, it's a very, very fast-paced matchup. There's a lot of variability in terms of how the players choose to play, and especially what maps they choose to play on. Interestingly, Jaedong has picked Echo as the first map. Petraeus has picked Cactus Valley, a big 4-player map, as the second one, and the last map will be quite standard. It will be Coda. So already from this, we can start to surmise what sort of attitude the players have going into it. Here on Echo, Jaedong's map, he's chosen a very good defensive map. It's a great map to rush up to roaches because you've got a very narrow entrance to your natural and quite a narrow entrance to your third. You can get to that big roach stage very safely, and Jaedong showed yesterday that's where he's comfortable. That's what we're looking towards. Is Petraeus going to be comfortable playing him in that stage of the game?
One-word answer, who wins?
Petraeus.
What? Jeff?
I'm torn.
We got to go.
I'm torn.
Jaedong, obviously.
All right, obviously, let's get into it. It's time for the final game of the evening. Canada, for one last time, let's do this.
All right, the final series of the day. Canada, a very important question to ask. Are you ready? Sounds about right. Let's get into it. Zerg versus Zerg. Let's find out who the last member of the round of 8 is going to be here at the World Championship Series, as we have the Tyrants going to be going up against the final hope here of Southeast Asia, as we have spawning down to the bottom right-hand corner our blue Zerg representing Evil Geniuses. It is Jaedong. And up to the top left-hand corner, representing My Insanity, coming all the way from New Zealand. Give it up for Petraeus!
Petraeus, who has yet to ever win a map against Jaedong here. They haven't met that many times. It was just 3 times, but overall it's 4-0 in maps in Jaedong's favor lifetime. So definitely gonna have to put in some work here if he wants to beat the Tyrant. He showed some good games the first time that they played here in this tournament, you know. Really went head-to-head with the Tyrant himself, but just wasn't quite enough back then. And look at this, already a little bit of a change here from both players in terms of build order. Petraeus, right after the hatchery, didn't add on any extra drones, went straight away for a pull, whereas Jaedong, he's delayed a lot. He's actually gonna go for an extractor before the pull even.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Crowd seems to be behind Jaedong here at the moment. looking for his round of 8 campaign to continue on through here in Season 2. Quite the ambitious opening here for Jaedong. His spawning pool is a little bit delayed, but he will obviously have that speed quite quickly and the economical advantage. Petraeus, on the other hand, you're totally right. Last series against Jaedong, he was able to hit pretty precise timings. The only problem is the Tyrant evaded them. He was able to keep dancing, keep away from those timings, and eventually sort himself out a good counter. Now, Petraeus, can he go toe-to-toe again? Can he defeat him?
I think Petraeus has very, very good late game across probably all matchups. I know in particular against Protoss it's the case, but even in Zerg versus Zerg, some of the the concepts that you're going to see against Protoss definitely apply as well. So I was really surprised to see how well Jaedong played in the first series. And even though Petraeus, he didn't particularly play bad or anything himself, both of these guys can play a longer game and play it very, very well. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly how they go into the mid game, and if they both stabilize, how they manage the late game here this time around as well, with all the transitions that you need to take into consideration. And we have an Evo chamber here being added on in this game by Petraeus.
Petraeus is already going to bring the fight here to Jaedong. With this evolution chamber going down, it's really going to help him out. He has a little bit of gas now, banking up for that.
Car pace maybe, because he's not spending that on speed just yet. So actually, it's melee.
Ooh, interesting little choice here from Petraeus. He will be going up against Baneling Nest in the back here by Jaedong. So normally you would see the carapace for the Lynx to actually survive an extra shot against those Banelings, but this time melee, it's not the most common of choices here at all.
Yeah, I've seen Petraeus do this kind of stuff though, in particular on maps where it's hard to defend a third base, to try and go for busts with a lot of Lynx, go for cancellation on that third base, apply a lot of pressure, put his opponents, in the defensive posture while he takes a quicker third base at the same time. It's going to be interesting to see how Jaedong reacts once he realizes what's up, which is going to be really late, and there is pretty much no way of scouting this as well. You're never going to see the Evo in the back of your opponent's base. You can't fly in with an Overlord and see.
Well, speed is starting now here for Petraeus behind all of this. So it's going to be a little bit delayed. All he has to do is deal with the speed here of Jaedong, but there are Banelings now morphing in here. Jaedong looking to bring the fight to Petraeus. Petraeus has chosen a very interesting build here to try and topple the Tyrant in the first game because he knows that his opponent is very good at this matchup. The Banelings go walk on forward. Against that speed,
Petraeus,
he
targeted.
Good stuff there, getting those Banelings. He will lose the Queen for the sake of it, though, and seeing all those Lynx without speed here from Jaedong sees them, he's got to be a little bit wary as to what is up.
That was perfect targeting here by Petraeus. He didn't have a spine there. You don't want to get one. He knew that wasn't probably going to be up on time, so he used these 2 queens to target down the Banelings, kill them. And now he's going to find himself in a position where he's going to have a lot of Lynx with +1 melee.
Trying to get the scouting information, trying to get up to the main base, and he will actually get up there. He sees the evolution chamber at the back. That will give him a good read as to what is going on, where that gas has been going for now.
Jaedong is morphing in 3 Banelings around his natural here, but the third base is going to be in quite a bit of danger. Let's see if Petraeus tries to go for the natural or the third base. He's morphing some of his own Banelings. Remember, he has the +1 here already.
Yeah, but it's the Ling versus Ling. If he can actually evade all the Banelings and it is a Ling versus Ling war, then Petraeus is definitely going to win out on this. And with the third base going down at the particular timing that it is, if he can get Lings over there, he should be able to do something. These Banelings are going to walk into the natural here. Lings are going to follow on it up. And there's actually not that many Lings here for Jaedong, but he's bought time for the Roaches to get out. He focuses down the Banelings. Still more Lings will flood forward though. And with +1 weapons, if they do get on the Roaches, there are smaller numbers of Roaches, it would be a very, very easy kill for them. It's all about the Baneling trying to connect.
Yeah, Jaedong is making exclusively units here right now, morphing in some more Banelings, getting some Roaches, and mixing in some Zerglings as well. The third base started for Petraeus, and Jaedong, I think he's defended this so far pretty close to flawlessly.
And that's the thing. Petraeus has hedged his bets here on this +1 weapons, doing quite a bit for him. And because it hasn't, the gas investment has gone away from transitioning to Roaches, has gone away from actually being able to further himself back at home. And now Jaedong has seized the advantage with very, very little effort there.
Yeah, he had quite a few more walkers, but not that many behind this. It's Petraeus that's droning up. Jaedong still making units. Needs to be careful not to get supply block. Quite a bit ahead in supply, actually. If he moves across the map, he's going to force a lot of units out of Petraeus. And there's going to be, actually, Petraeus is in quite a bit of danger, army-wise. He's on only 24 army supply against 41. That's 11 Roaches to 0 right now.
And he's got to be careful about this. +1 melee weapons on Zerglings can only do so much. These Banelings will zone out the Zerglings for now.
The Roaches are getting close.
Yeah,
That third base might be forfeit here for Petraeus.
And also, Jaedong really wants the fight to be on the other side because he doesn't have his lair at the moment. He would like to just kind of squeeze on that out. And will now have those roaches on towards the third base. Lings are going to engage over here. Actually, that Ling versus Ling war might go in Petraeus' favor. The Banelings weren't quite with that, but the roaches have positioned themselves in such a way to bring down the third base, and it is going to be killed off here. This is a big, big move by Jaedong.
Yeah, there wasn't even enough in terms of links for Petraeus, so he even lost that Ling versus Ling fight here against Jaedong, who's going to lose some of these roaches, but behind this, look at the production that he has. He has the third base that's decently saturated. That's 3 hatcheries with injects to really start getting ahead on that roach count.
Jaedong just understands this matchup so well. A pretty amazing mastery of this matchup. At the moment, he is plowing forward. 13 more roaches in production here. Army supply very close, but once those 13 pop out here for Jaedong, it should be quite good. He should be able to weather the storm of anything Petraeus throws at him because he's so far behind in economy, he has to do something.
Yeah, 53 army supply here for Petraeus, 56 for Jaedong. Very, very close. He's going to have the defender's advantage was to Petraeus. Petraeus to attack into him. 3 overlords being added on here for Jaedong. I think his production is just going to be insane from here. Having the third base already saturated, income-wise, he's just so far ahead. 53 drones to 40. Petraeus is in so much trouble. He's going to have to pull a miracle here to win this.
Killer Instinct goes back on in here for the Zerglings of the Tyrant. Will be able to once again deny this space. Great little force of the cancellation there by Jaedong to really keep the game in his control, in his command. And once again, Petraeus with these roaches has to do something, but Jaedong, by the time he gets there, will have equal roaches to be able to deal with it.
This is an impossible situation here for Petraeus. He has to attack because he's so far behind, but at the same time, an attack might just not work as well when he's going to see the army of Jaedong and how big it is. I don't think he can attack into this, especially with that defensive posture here of Jaedong. So he's going to try to retake a third base to, I guess, drone up and go into a regular game from there. But look at this, Jaedong, 63 drones to 51. He's just so far ahead economically, and he's played this beautifully.
Yeah.
He always mixed in a few drones here and there, but never too many that it would put him in danger. And in the same time, always getting enough units out. And I think he might just go for a timing as the third base of Petraeus finishes before he can let him catch up on that roach count.
I mean, yeah, he could do that, or he could happily just sit around up until the point where he maxes out, because he knows he's going to be maxing out quicker than his opponent. Go with those roaches for one big smash against the wall of Petraeus, which is likely to buckle under the pressure here of Jaedong. That +2 weapons, yeah, they're both evenly timed, but he will just have so much more here.
Oh, it's gonna buckle, all right, man. It's 3 extractors right now against 4 here, 5 for Jaedong. So he's getting quite a bit more gas. The roach count is getting crazy. 48 for Jaedong, 34 for Petraeus. I really don't know how he can defend this here. He's going to need the best concave of his life. The upgrade's about to kick in for both players, but it looks like Jaedong might even attack before that, as he's already maxed out.
He's going to have to out for the reinforcement point to win out here for him from Petraeus, but I don't know if that's going to work. He needs to control this position. He's going to try and push up against this, but I don't know if that will work out either here. The roaches for Jaedong, he feels confident moving forwards into these roaches, and with extra roaches reinforcing, it looks like Jaedong is going to be able to cripple this army. GG. Game number 1 goes to Jaedong in this best of 3 as the Tyrant looks to keep his WCS hopes alive. But for Petraeus there, it was all doomed. He tried for a bit more of a trickier opening there against Jaedong. Tried to kind of roll the dice a little bit, but Jaedong was not faltering. Jaedong was not having any of it, Todd.
That was very clean of a game here by him. The amount of banelings that he got at home was exactly enough to defend against the attack comfortably. In the end, the third base, the third hatchery never was cancelled. Didn't really take any damage. I don't think he even lost a single drone. So good defense, and then behind this, fully knowing that he was ahead on the economy. Like we can already see in this situation, he was at 48 drones to 41, ahead in army as well. He goes in, snipes a few drones and the hatchery as well. Just beautiful moves all around from the dome here.
I actually think, though, as this was dying off, this hatchery, down towards the bottom where that Ling versus Ling skirmish was going on, it was very even Lings, but one of the Banelings may have crept in and really made the decisive maneuver there because all of his attention was focused on the third base, which freed up even more units for Jaedong to keep piling on the pressure and putting Petraeus on the back foot. So, in the end, Petraeus faltering a little bit here. It's very difficult in this position, but now he's one game away from being eliminated from the World Championship Series. And does he pull out another crazy, interesting build here in ZvZ vs ZvZ to try and topple Jaedong?
It's Cactus Valley, so it's possible. We've seen a lot of two-players map actually in ZvZ. You know, players really trying to outdo each other, fully knowing that there's going to be overlords all around the map, being able to scout everything. But now, a 4-players map, maybe some kind of quick rush if he gets desperate. Not really the kind of players to really do it here. I think Petraeus, just because he's done one game, so I expect standard play from him, and same thing from Jaedong.
All right, well, let's get into then game number 2 now on the way. Cactus Valley will be our map. It could be the potentially last game of the night, ladies and gents. As we have spawning up to the top right, representing Evil Geniuses, it is Jaedong. And maybe for one last time, down to the bottom left-hand corner here as our red Zerg. Representing My Insanity, give it up for Petraeus! Ladies and gentlemen of Canada, of Toronto, so far over this past 2 days, you have been a fantastic audience. Thank you very much for everything. As we shall see now if Petraeus can bring it back here and keep his WCS hopes alive.
So far, nothing too crazy here in this game. No quick pull, no quick gas. So everything looks normal. Wouldn't be surprised to see, you know, hatch first from both players here into either an extractor or pull. And it's actually cross map. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see how well they place their overlords and, you know, how much effort they put into scouting. And I'm guessing, you know, if nothing special happens, you know, you're going to that road versus road situation, and then if nothing, you know, neither player can get ahead by any kind of way, you're going to see some transitions here and there, you know, sometimes banelings, sometimes infestors. Definitely a map where, since it's so big and the bases are really spread out, where we could see, you know, in a road versus road situation, we could see tunneling clouds being used quite well, I think, on this map.
Yeah, we could. A lot of Zergs have been using that in the past. We saw TLO using it to great effect, not necessarily on this map, but obviously did work out well. These two overlords could potentially reveal themselves to one another, and then they would know where they've spawned, which would help out quite a bit, but, oh, well, good job, Petraeus. So they do now know where they've spawned, which is a big deal. Cross positions on this map compared to actually one of the closer positions does allow a bit more breathing room here for both of them, although Petraeus has quite a bit of gas already coming in.
Yeah, much earlier extractor, Jaedong opening gasless here, so probably wanting to go into a few queens and then later on adding double extractor at once. Ooh. Which on this map, I think, like, since you can go for a wall.
Ooh, 10 lings in production here for Jaedong. This is very, very uncommon. And he might be catching Petraeus slightly off guard.
Yeah, I think he realized that there's not going to be an overlord on the way to see this coming, because they're in the corners of the map. Jaedong playing the map and to the lack of information of his opponent really well. There is a chance this is absolutely going to surprise Petraeus so much. Like,
because
he has no idea.
The normal convention is you build 2 Zerglings, you use those to scout, you keep it going. These 2 Zerglings are going to move across the map.
How many lavas does he have?
Spot these extra Zerglings now.
He was always going to spot them in the middle. He has one single lava here right now, so actually it's funny because Jaedong right now even knows that Petraeus is going to get a lot of Zerglings, but
Queen's repositioning itself here. The Queen from the main base repositioning itself on the ramp. This one at the natural is under a little bit of threat here. The Zergling is going to have to dance for a moment, and it looks like he should be able to fend this off. The quick thinking of that Queen was very, very important.
I think Jaedong, he already had anticipated that Petraeus is going to make enough links.
Oh, gets himself one of the Queens. Going to dart up on it into the main as well. And limiting a little bit of the production here from Petraeus. Of course, he had to do this because of the lava investment towards these lings.
Jaedong still with no extractors. He sees speed on the way. He sees a bailing nest. Definitely needs to start thinking into adding his own here. He got a spine here already. And 3 queens. He's moving out with the 3 queens.
Where are they going? Are they going Overlord hunting? That's quite ambitious.
There is none around though. Petraeus' Overlords were quite far out, so not going to be able to catch anything, but 3 Queens and 1 Spine. Is it really enough to defend if Petraeus plays very aggressive here?
Petraeus, once again, going for a bit more of a trickier build. Leia is on the way very, very quickly here. Behind the fact that he has speed, he's going to use the speed as a threat and then try and transition on behind it. Jaedong, with the Evolution Chamber, as well as the Roach Warren, should be fine against Speedlings. It all depends on what the Leia is for here, as he tries to keep himself alive here in this WCS match to make sure he can try and move on to the round of 8 with the Leia.
Yeah, triple extractor at once here for Jaedong, by the way. Who's definitely, in terms of gas, like, he's starting to mine gas when his opponent already mined, like, what, quite a few hundreds, I guess, himself.
Ah, okay, I see now. It could be the Spire play here from Petraeus.
Yeah, definitely. With this many gas.
Yeah.
This is for sure here. Getting a few Midas out, you know, and starting the harassment, the Overlord hunting here on this map. Definitely going to put him in a position where he can find himself ahead, go into the Roach, I guess, production and period of the game. But remember, there is a few weaknesses to that. We saw one of them in the previous game with the Nidus and the Queens and Roaches.
But will he trick him out? Because at the moment, Jaedong knows nothing about this. I really would love to have the intel, that's for sure. Petraeus going to start a Baneling Nest as well here, just in case there was to be a flood of units. But obviously, seeing that Roach Warren at the front, it's a bit more easier and a bit more telltale as to what is going on currently.
Jaedong, ideally, I think he'd like to scout that. The thing is, his lair is so late that getting an Overseer out anytime soon is just not going to happen. So I guess he's going to find out about those Mutas through them flying to his Overlords and starting to kill them, because he hasn't sent any Ling across the map. Remember, he doesn't have speed. He didn't even start speed. He's going to play basically speedless, Lingless this game. But already got double upgrade here on the way. And actually, one of those upgrades is seen in the main, with that Evo being there.
Yeah. So double upgrades. If the Mutas aren't able to do a lot, if they're not able to pin Jaedong back, Jaedong is going to have a very significant advantage in terms of the ground army.
Oh, he just cancels.
Ah, he saw the third base, realized he wasn't going to be hit anytime soon by like a big swell of units across 2 bases, and he actually sent in an Overseer, I think, into the main base to spot the second Evolution Chamber. Yeah, so he knows he's playing against double Evo Roaches with the third base.
Burrow started, Kailais. Remember, Jaedong with the Roaches, he's quite scary, especially when he gets Thundering Claws. He has one of the best multitask in the world, I would say, with this.
Definitely. And Petraeus is looking to eventually create a base of Roaches after the Mutalisks have done what they need to do. Jaedong knows that this is the case now with the Mutas, is setting himself up with the Spore Crawlers so that he can deal with it. But +1 weapons going down for Mutalisks is something that I wasn't suspecting, actually, because that signifies a bigger commitment here to Mutalisks.
Yeah. I mean, Petraeus is still getting, you know, +1 missile and a Roach Warren as well. I mean, behind this, Jaedong, he has a choice on what he wants to do. Does he want to, you know, get Tunneling Claws and start playing very aggressive with his Roaches? He can get Hydralisk and play it safe.
Jaedong, you weren't keeping good eyes on where those Lings split, my friends, once they came into your base. 3 Banelings now walking on in. How good are the eyes of Jaedong? How good are the actions of the Tyrant? He's going to be able to save a lot of drones, but he gets 9 of them. Good move there by Petraeus.
He has very good eyes, but sadly, in the end here, got a few drones a little bit too clumped up. Petraeus on 57 walkers against 36 for Jaedong. Jaedong in quite a bit of trouble. He might just go all in. Look at this, he's getting Thundering Claws, he's redroning here a little bit. He's got a massive army, but he can't really use it because if he moves across the map with just the Roaches, I mean, the Mutas are going to demolish them.
Even the angle the Roaches were trying to sneak out down towards the bottom was trying to evade the eyes of the Mutalisks themselves. Didn't get the opportunity to. Petraeus is going to keep him pinned in for now and slowly work his way up in the Roach count, because his third base nicely up and running at the moment, dwarfing the economy here of Jaedong's. Playing a really, really smart game so far as Petraeus.
Yeah, but as soon as the Tunneling Claws finish, though, remember, there's not a single Spore here in Petraeus' space. He's got an Overseer, I think, somewhere.
Ling's going to run on in again here. Where are his units to be able to deal with that? They're over the other side. These Roaches just want to plow on forwards and try and do something before he knows his opponent can gather some momentum.
Yeah, Petraeus got an Overseer over there, so if he can see these Roaches burrow, I think right now he pretty much expect that, oh, he's going to catch the... That's a big deal.
That's a lot of damage.
Because from now, like once you've seen it the first time, you can start defending much better against it. He exactly knows what he's weak against now, and he's going to focus on the defense. very, very easily. Yeah, actually, Petraeus actually has such a scary army that he might just march across the map and kill Jaedong.
Jaedong has lost all windows. There are no windows for Jaedong. He is in a box right now. Petraeus has a brilliant opportunity here to be able to equalize things up against Jaedong and keep his hopes alive for the round of 8. The interesting thing about it all is that he's played it so well as Petraeus, so well, from the mutas just doing the containment to the small baneling maneuver into the mineral line, and now his roach numbers should be able to swell. And he's even getting on the Hydralist end. That's how comfortable Petraeus feels here.
Yeah. Whereas Jaedong, you know, he's been forced to make roaches because I guess he saw that huge chunk of roaches from Petraeus, and he probably realized that he's pretty far behind in army supply right now. And if Petraeus was to attack, which actually he hasn't so far, that would have been really, really scary for Jaedong. But now he realized that he's gonna have to, you know, get something himself to try and counter this, so he gets his own Hydra then.
If he killed off that roach for him with those Mutalisks, that would have been absolutely ridiculous.
There's some transfuses.
Yeah, he's okay. He's okay. Slowly sneaking in.
For now, he is, yes.
For now, yeah, because once Petraeus maxes out, and the ace card that Jaedong had up his sleeve did not work at all. It totally shut down there. Petraeus maxes out 134 army supply against 76. Almost no reason Petraeus has to linger. He could easily go and do a huge amount of damage here to Jaedong.
And he gets some static defense on the third base. That's just perfect here. Usually you see this against Dark Templars, but against, I guess, burrowed roaches, I guess it applies as well to get one spore like this.
Oh, transfuses come in at the very last second. Phew, close call, close call. Needs those roaches.
And Petraeus now is going to start marching across the map. The upgrades are about even. They might just fight before the upgrades finish. It's funny, man. They max out so fast that the upgrades don't have time to kick in. Right now, 132 army supply for Petraeus. Just 100 for Jaedong. Much like in the previous game for Petraeus, he's gonna need the best concave of his life, Kailaris.
It's time for Petraeus to bring the fight to Jaedong on his side of the map, on his terms here, as he'll have to back off for a second, a little bit apprehensive about what he wants to do with this.
Look at these upgrades, finishing at the exact same time.
Wow.
That's
to
crazy.
The millisecond. That's actually ridiculous. To the 10th of a second, I should say. As brilliant, brilliant stuff. And the thing is that Petraeus lingered. Petraeus had a window, I feel.
Yeah.
But he let Jaedong get back into this now. He's morphing into banelings himself. 16 banelings can be a really big game changer. And actually, look at the path of overlords in the middle of the map here for Petraeus. If he wanted to, he could launch a very quick assault over towards Jaedong. But that's being cleared up now. Jaedong is recovering in this game.
Yeah, highway would have been nice now. Petraeus is in a situation where he's let Jaedong max out. But remember, he has quite a few banelings here with his army, and there is no infestors to fungal. They're going to fight in the middle of the map.
And I don't think he knows
supplies,
about the
by the way.
And now he knows about the banelings. He's going to have to move away. And Centrifugal Hooks finishes just as that comes along. They even just crash into the roaches. They don't really care too much about what they're going to hit, because the Hydralists, the less tanking potential they have from the roaches, the better it's going to be here for Petraeus. Dead even almost in the supplies, but Petraeus takes an advantage. 22 roaches in production with all of this, and he's actually going to be able to conquer the majority of the fight in the middle of the map. Petraeus is bringing the game here to Jaedong. He is saying, I am not going down without a fight here in the final game of the day, and will push Jaedong all the way back.
Jaedong down to 66 army supply to 119, but Petraeus needs to wait for the reinforcements. He's gonna have so much in a moment, but he cannot overextend. I think Jaedong knows that. He's gonna try to chase you a little bit using that, I guess, the edge of that launch pad, as Snoot likes to call it.
Is he gonna have +2 carapace as an advantage as well here? What are the upgrades of Jaedong? Okay, so he does have that as well. Okay, so, but still, banelings, 22 of them do make a big difference in this fight, because as much as if it doesn't even connect with Hydralists, connecting with banelings and making them move away is denying damage from being done for your roaches and your Hydralists.
That's actually a brilliant move by Petraeus to get this many banelings. He fully identified that there was no way Jaedong was going to have infestors, and these banelings, they got so much splash damage and surface to detonate on those roaches and Hydralisks every single time. Look at his army. He looked like 3 times bigger than Jaedong's.
Piling on the pressure against Jaedong again, going from the right-hand side this time, going towards that third base. The banelings actually crash into a lot of those roaches. Petraeus bulldozes his way through here with the roaches and hydras. GG, he takes it to a game 3. He keeps his hopes alive against the Tyrant in Jaedong. Moving on to the round of 8. This is down to the wire, Todd.
Much like yesterday, putting up a very, very good fight here against the Tyrant. Petraeus, he hasn't said his final word. He's one of those guys that, as we said many times, works very, very hard. And it really shows here. It really, really showed in that game.
All importantly, you said it before, So far, in history, Petraeus hasn't taken a single map off Jaedong in tournament games.
That's the first one.
Up until now. Up until now, he hasn't taken a map. So well done by Petraeus to start moving things and shifting them in his favor. Coda is going to be map number 3, but he's proved to himself here with that victory that he's able to go toe-to-toe with Jaedong. And that is a big deal here when it comes to Zerg versus Zerg.
Oh man, Jaedong. That game was... I thought he was doing good in the start, but then Petraeus just played pretty close to perfect, I think. You know, the defense staying at home against the tunneling class. It seems like the more he knows his opponent, the better he's going to do against him. Even against Red. You know, I spoke a little bit with him about his match against Red, and some of the things he told me made it really sound like he knew exactly. Like, again, that move of going for Banelings here.
Yeah.
I think perfect, because
that's great.
If you don't have Infestors, it's just so hard to deal with Banelings in ZvZ. And I mean, splitting Roaches and Hydras, not quite like splitting Marines as a Terran, so
yeah.
Very, very difficult to do.
I mean, if you look at this engagement, in Zerg versus Zerg, Roach versus Hydra is all about consistent damage, always being able to just constantly power away in those concaves. If you're able to disrupt that flow, if you're able to disrupt the concave, bring down some of the units very, very fast, you're going to gain yourself a really, really strong advantage. And that's what we saw Petraeus do there in game number 2. Now, though, we move on to game number 3, the final game of the day, to decide who moves on to the round of 8. And down to the bottom right-hand corner, it is My Insanity's Petraeus. And up to the top left-hand corner here, we have our blue Zerg representing Evil Geniuses. It is Jaedong. And in the end, when all is said and done today, we're seeing new blood, new talent thrive through the scene here in the World Championship Series. Jaedong is part of the old guard pretty much nowadays. Petraeus, not as much. Petraeus is another one of those guys that can potentially have a glorious run. We've already seen Marine Lord move through. We've already seen Lil Bo move through. Sadly, for the Southeast Asian scene, Iagers is not going to be in the round of 8. But Petraeus can keep that hope alive for them.
Yeah, 3 Koreans already made it through, actually. Jaedong will be the 4th one.
Yeah.
Half the representation. This is actually what we get a lot of the time, you know,
yep.
Koreans going deep in these tournaments, but that would be huge here for the SCS scene if Petraeus was to make it to the next round. I think even for himself, you know, as this player who's never really had quite this kind of super deep round in a big tournament like this.
It would be the biggest result of his life, basically. Yes. A win against Jaedong here would be the biggest result of Petraeus' life, and he is on the path at the moment, Todd.
Yeah, actually, 3 Terrans have made it through. With this match, a 3rd Zerg is going to make it through, and 2 Protoss has made it through. So there you have it, perfect balance. David Kim definitely going to be happy with his top 8 here, I guess.
Good job,
He's doing
Mr.
a good
David
job.
Kim, wherever you are. I know you're in the building somewhere. So anyway, into this game now, as we see Jaedong going to be grabbing himself that hatchery spawning. The gas will be on the way for him eventually. Did Petraeus already get gas? Yes, he did.
Yeah. And
he's actually mining that quite swiftly. So maybe looking to bring the fight to Jaedong again.
He had so much initiative in the previous game, you know, with having the much earlier gas and speed. Jaedong took forever to finally take a gas, and it looks like so far in this game he's already chosen to correct that. Last game was crazy, actually, the timing he took his gases. Like, he took 3 at once very, very late into the game. The initial links did some damage, but probably not enough. He didn't have any initiative behind this, so as smart and cool a move as it was, definitely wasn't enough.
Yeah, I mean, getting a queen, limiting some of your opponent's production is okay, but it's not like, it's not the big game swing that you want from that much lava early on. It's costly. I mean, it was 22 drones against 16 drones when he was making that kind of assault.
Jaedong spotted perfectly when speed started here for Petraeus, so he's gonna be able to time this out. And same thing for Petraeus. He just spotted the spawning pool, shaking a little bit, not sure what to call it, and he knows that speed just started. Going to be able to time this really well with what he wants to do, whether it's being aggressive or defensive. Right. Banelings goes down here for Petraeus, much earlier than for Jaedong.
at the front.
Actually, not that much earlier. He starts it now.
Baneling Nest at the back for Jaedong, actually, so a little bit hidden away from prying eyes. That being said, there is an Overlord there. I don't think he can get in. Lings can't get in, certainly, so maybe he could use that Overlord at the back to try and identify it.
Jaedong seems to be very keen on creep spreading, by the way. Since he went for a later gas, he had more minerals, and he went for that third queen, which definitely can help him defend, you know, sometimes if his opponent's being aggressive. And he used that to creep spread here a little bit.
18 Lings in production here for Petraeus. Is this going to be the move? 20 Lings in production for Petraeus as well. That's a lot of Lings. Then Jaedong identifies this phase of the game. I think he understands.
He's probably hoping that Jaedong, you know, gambles a little bit over drones and also skips on the Baneling Nest and stops mining gas. In which case, then you have to go for a wall. And on this map, definitely can be hard to defend with that wide ramp. But now Petraeus is gonna go for a huge aggression, and Jaedong already knows it's coming.
Seeing Banelings morphing in on the ramp there is quite the telltale, of course, as Jaedong now knows that this is at the front of his base. Banelings are morphing in for Petraeus. He's going to try and break
there's two Banelings.
Jaedong. There's more Lings still in production here. The two Banelings, one of them is going to be focused down at the front. It does get brought down, so it will be cancelled. Good focus fire still here from Jaedong. The two queens leading the charge, and it looks like Petraeus is going to abandon plans for now.
Wow.
Really good defense by Jaedong to say he did barely anything, and he's going to supply Petraeus. Brilliant stuff by the Dom.
Perfect defense. Behind this, Petraeus a little bit in panic, started a spine crawler back at home. He thinks he's being counter-attacked, but I don't think Jaedong particularly has any intention to do this, because it looked like he was still droning up, adding on an Evo here, Chamber as well. Both players are going to go into drones.
Push the fight to the other side of the map and then take your third base here. Classic Jaedong will see everything going on, sees the layer morphing in, starts his own in order to be able to compete with that process.
And he started the third base, and there's no Overlord there to spot it. So right now, Petraeus is not going to have any idea that this is going up unless he can somehow sneak his Lings across the map. And actually, Jaedong hasn't kept anything at home to defend. He needs to come back now and...
Great read by Jaedong, making sure he's covering every single angle. Will be able to kill off a lot of those Lings. They retreat back down the left-hand side. Jaedong knows he's killed quite a bit. Going to move forwards here into assault mode with these Lings. Has to be careful of those Banelings, but he's checking for the third base. He doesn't see it. Obviously, he knows it's not there with the Overlord, making sure there's no drones going down to actually plant one.
Jaedong's trying to get a good detonation here with the Banelings. Not going to get much, but it's delaying that third base so much. There was a drone headed there for Petraeus, which he had to send back, so not going to be able to start his own third hatchery, and he doesn't know that Jaedong is about to finish.
Great delay tactics. Playing methodically, playing calmly, playing safely here is Jaedong. Not risking too much, sending Lings up towards, even just sacrificing one or two Lings, splitting them off to get Banelings. Good trade so far by Jaedong.
Yeah.
The Lings to the right. The big important move here. Can he do some damage? Doesn't look like it is still covered.
He might go for a two base here, Petraeus. He's not running up anymore. He's only making units. He's on quite a few roaches. He's going to start the third hatchery no matter what. But if he went for a timing with a lot more roaches, there is a chance it might work. And he actually might be one of his only or best chances. Extractor, nope. Doesn't start an extractor, and he's going to lose that drone.
Good denial again by Jaedong. He's slowing Petraeus down at every angle.
He's making him desperate right now. He's making him desperate, I think. Petraeus definitely needs to be considering all-in here.
Yeah, the roaches are on the move. They are on the move at the moment. He's going to try and now plant down his third base. He needs to have a contingency plan. Absolutely. And you've got to remember, guys, is that Jaedong missed Season 1 completely. He needs WCS points. He needs to win this. He needs to keep himself alive moving into the round of 8. And at the moment, it's looking very, very good for him. He's got a good defensive setup. He's got his third base up and running. He's got an economical advantage. Petraeus has to find an answer, Todd.
Yeah, being ahead both in army and walker count here. Unless Jaedong really messes up, he's going to be in a comfortable situation for a very long time. Petraeus comes in with some Banelings and roaches, but Jaedong has even more. And in the meantime, he sends Zerglings across the map to get another cancel on the third base of Petraeus.
Gonna have to be careful. Oh, Baneling's gonna catch a few of those drones in the main base. Is he gonna deny it again? He gets the cancel. Jaedong gets the cancel. A brilliant move. He actually evacuates out in the third base as well here against Petraeus. Regardless of what Petraeus is doing, it's not working. He's evened up a little bit of the work accounts, but he still needs that third base if he wants to continue this on.
The Tyrants did not give you permission to take the third base here, Petraeus. Definitely not. He's going all the way around the map here. I think kind of hoping that Jaedong might be counter-attacking. Is this going to be some kind of base trade? This is crazy.
Oh my god, he's going to get the third base again, Todd. It's all on these roaches.
Petraeus Look at this, he's going across the map with his own units. This is going to be a base trade. He's evacuating the natural now.
Jaedong's on the other side. He's going to go for the Roach Warrant straight away, deny the reinforcements from actually being popped. And at the same time, Petraeus here is on the other side trying to bring this down. It's all out warfare now as Jaedong gets on top of the reinforcements.
Petraeus is snapping the Roach Warrant.
Uh-oh, okay, how many roaches are we at? Because if that goes down, and it will end up falling, 33 roaches against 29, this is still doable for either side here. This is ridiculous. Killing off all of the drones, killing them very, very weak.
Yeah, Jaedong's trying to get spans at the third base, but Petraeus is there with a few roaches. Definitely needs to get a cancel on that and not let it get up. He's going to the main now. Both players, they're going to massacre each other's economy. Petraeus.
This isn't going to work for Petraeus. This isn't going to work. 35 roaches for Jaedong against 20 roaches for Petraeus. There you go. GG, well played. Jaedong is able to advance on to the round of 8, keeping his World Championship Series hopes alive and moving on here in this tournament. Great play by Jaedong, who is able to move on here in Zerg versus Zerg once again. Let's head over to the main stage with Chobra, and the winner, it is, of course, Jaedong.
And for the last match, Jaedong does it, moves on into the quarterfinals. Ladies and gentlemen, another big round of applause for Jaedong. Let's have a quick chat, Jaedong. Came into this match, again, ZvZ, you're very used to this matchup. You beat him yesterday, 2-0. Did you come in thinking, you know what, I can just easily do it again, or were you a little bit worried? 이 매치 준비하는데 어제 2대0으로 이겼는데 똑같이 자신 있게 준비할 수 있었는지.
I think it's don't worry about ZvZ for me because one of the best matchup is ZvZ for me. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we don't call it JVZ for nothing, everyone. A lot of people thought, you know, it's probably going to be another 2-0, but then Petraeus surprised everyone, and probably you too, taking that second map. He won at least one game in this match. Did that surprise you a little bit?
Yes.
Yeah, I would think so too, in Jaedong's shoes. Now, of course, going on to the quarterfinals, you're no stranger to the spot, but the most important question, I think, is before the match started, I don't know if you could hear it to the end, but this crowd is loving you. They love you. They're chanting your name. But my question for you is, do you love them?
Of course, I love Canadian fans. It's very amazing.
All right, thank you very much, everyone. Once again, congratulations to Jaedong for taking that last spot in the round of 8 of the season finals.
Jaedong is the last player to make it into the quarterfinals, and what a top 8 we have. I want to say this now before you leave the stream and leave the venue. We will be doing the round of 8 drawing moments after we finish up here. In control, Pig, we finished with the round of 16. 2 days of long StarCraft action. It's been eventful, it's been very fun. We've had some great games, we've seen some fantastic plays, and we've seen some great players up there.
What a day. It did not disappoint. I mean, we talked about how this is the elimination prove-it day, and we had some awesome redemption stories. TLO kind of comes to mind. We had some people continuing their march towards BlizzCon. I mean, Jaedong, with this final match, he's on the cusp. He could not afford to go out in the round of 16, and he secures for himself a chance to play a best-of-5 single elimination tomorrow to move on, and that's going to be as intense and awesome as it gets.
And Bunny into the top 8 as well, Pig.
Redeeming himself and showing that he's got what it takes to just drive his way through there.
Yep.
Keeping the foreign hope alive. A lot of people had doubts in such a hard group, but he made it out, and I think tomorrow is just going to be an absolute test.
Yeah, and we can't forget about Marine Lord as well. Gets into the top 8 in his first season in the Premier League. A fantastic performance from the Frenchman.
Which one?
Marine Lord.
Marine Lord? Yeah, I actually had the pleasure of casting
It's okay,
that one.
there are 2 of them in the top 8.
It's been a long day. I'm allowed for one brain freeze here, okay? No, it was absolutely awesome. I mean, what I like is we continuously talk about kind of what brought these guys here, and Marine Lord's a great example. It was like, hey, Everyone says you're one of the best. You need to get that result. Round of 8, absolutely close. It's pretty awesome.
All right, for one last time, let's take a look at Group D. The bracket has been completed. The top 16 are now locked in for the quarterfinals. And coming out from Group D, of course, yesterday, Stardust in first place. And in second, Jaedong sneaks in to the quarterfinals and will have to go up in, as you said, a single elimination, a best of 5 against one of the group winners. That is something to remember when we get ready for this draw. Final thoughts here, Pig, before we wrap up and get ready for the round of 8 drawing.
We're going to see some fierce competition tomorrow. You know, players that took the first seed, they've got technically the easier run. When you're looking at this lineup, really, what does that mean? It means you're going to be playing someone damn good, maybe slightly worse than the other guys. We've got Polt in there, we've got Hydra in there, we've got Jaedong. It's pretty much what everyone expected. I think the only big upset, of course, was 4GG falling out so early. But we've got a few newcomers as well, Lilbo and Marine Lord, looking to bring that French flag to victory. It's an exciting time. Bunch of oldies, a bunch of new guys, everyone just fighting for that money, fighting for that BlizzCon spot.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. We are done with the round of 16, but the round of 8 drawing is just around the corner.